The Roborock S7 Max Ultra, a mid-tier model that sits between the older S7 Max Phi Ultra and the newer Q Revo. Engineers haven't yet implemented side waste disposal or mop lifts here. The S7 Max Ultra still uses a vibrating mop and sticks with the old-school rear exhaust disposal. However, they've swapped the AI-powered active camera for a more basic structured light camera. The dock now includes a fan to dry the mop pad, which, when paired with the tried-and-true cleaning module of the 7 series, looks quite promising. But how relevant is the S7 Max Ultra in 2025? And how does it stack up against other all-in-one models from Roborock? We'll run some tests and figure it out. First out of the box, the quick start guide. A large sheet of paper, handy to have around the house. Next comes the vacuum itself. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Then the semi-garage style auto-empty dock and its accessories, plus a ramp for the robot to drive up on. Inside the box, an extra dust bag, one's already installed in the dock, a power adapter, a mini manual, and a user booklet. As always with Roborock, only the essentials for operation are included. The S7 Max Ultra's specs are nearly identical to the Q Revo, with the exception of the tank capacities. The clean water tank in the Max Ultra is twice the size, but the dustbin is slightly smaller. The price tag is hefty, but hey, it's Roborock, so no surprise there. Design-wise, the Max Ultra is classic 7 series. Glossy lid, thankfully white, LiDAR with 3 buttons, and charge contacts built into the bumper. In between is a trapezoidal window for the structured light camera, with a separate side sensor window. Navigation here is similar to the Q Revo. At the back, a parking roller, signal receiver for the dock, and connector port for the water tank. On the left side, a vent for air discharge. The dustbin is box-shaped. Unlike Dream vacuums, there's no inlet valve here since debris is removed in reverse, through the same port it came in. A small auxiliary vent helps air suction during self-cleaning. Filtration is single-layer HEPA, and the filter is washable under tap water. The working components are familiar if you've seen other Roborock bots. The main wheels have off-road tread, 4 cliff sensors. S7 Max 5 had 6, but in practice, those extra 2 never added much. Right by the caster wheel sits a carpet detection sensor. The side brush comes with soft bristles, but you can swap it for Roborock's 5-arm rubber version from the S7. The signature floating brush module adapts to uneven floors and maintains solid contact on carpet. Beneath the housing is a sturdy rubber roller. Hair only wraps around the removable ends. At the rear is a fixed mop mount with a single vibrating element. While the S8 Pro Ultra added an extra one, it didn't make much of a real-world difference. One segment works just fine. Now a few words about the dock. It's wide, featuring an auto-clean system and 3 inline containers. Dirty water on the far left, clean water in the middle, and a dust bag under a lid on the right. Everything's easy to remove and reinstall. The self-cleaning works like this. The bot backs up onto the ramp, refills its onboard tank, and positions the mop pad over the tray. A roller moves side to side, scrubbing and rinsing the microfiber pad. The tray stays mostly clean since debris collects in a mesh-lined basin. These components should be removed occasionally for rinsing under the tap. Wipe down the tray as well. Once the cleaning's done, the robot drives off the dock. After rinsing, it moves forward and docks nose first. In this position, it charges, empties its dustbin, and dries the mop using warm air blown through these vents. Before the next session, the bot backs up again, re-moistens the pad, and only then starts cleaning. Due to its more complex docking routine, the robot has to reposition itself multiple times, front in, back in, which wastes a bit of time. It's not strictly necessary. For example, the newer Q Revo solves this with side waste disposal. On the back of the dock, there's a cable channel to store extra cord length. Under the rubber plug, you'll find ports for service maintenance. But there are no hookups for a water line. You'll need to refill it manually. The 0.8-gallon clean water tank should be enough to cover 9 rooms, factoring in onboard tank refills and rinsing after each one. You'll need the Roborock app to control it. Just scan the QR code under the lid, hold the buttons as shown in the app, enter your Wi-Fi info, tap Connect, and in about a minute, you're all set. Navigation is simple. The S7 Max Ultra is fully translated into English, including voice prompts. Child lock disabled. In terms of features, it's nearly identical to the Roborock S8 Pro Ultra. You can see the full list here on screen. I'll go into detail on a few of them. Cleaning parameters can be customized room by room, even setting the direction of your laminate flooring so the bot mops in alignment for better results. You can also fine-tune the movement algorithm. There's a quick clean mode, but honestly, I don't see the point. The robot just zips from wall to wall, ignoring room boundaries. Not sure who'd need that. If you've got a creative use case, drop it in the comments. The mopping modes, on the other hand, are a lot more useful. In deep cleaning mode, the robot moves in tight zigzags, overlapping each pass to improve overall performance. In Deep Plus mode, it slows down even more to scrub more thoroughly. You can also control its carpet behavior, whether it should boost suction automatically, vacuum carpets first or last, lift the mop, avoid carpets, or even vibrate the mop over them, though that last one's a bit questionable. Carpets are shown on the map pretty accurately. You can manually refine their borders using the map editor, but it's not strictly required. Dock settings are just like on the S8 Pro Ultra. You can set the mop rinse interval anywhere from 10 to 50 minutes, or have it rinse after each room. In theory, water usage depends on the selected mode: eco, balanced, or deep. But in practice, no real difference. The dock always uses about 10 ounces of water per rinse. Might be a software issue that could get fixed in future updates. Unlike the S8 Pro Ultra, this one doesn't include the pet profile slider. Whether that affects its ability to detect pet messes or hazards, we're about to find out. In testing, the robot carefully maneuvered around both black and white flower pots, plus a large faux pet mess. It noticed a sneaker and some socks, but still nudged them while turning. Not a deal breaker, but not ideal either. As for the power strip, hit or miss. Sometimes it went around, sometimes it bumped into it. But what absolutely needs to be removed from the floor? Bathroom scales and phone chargers. Even with cables coiled up, the robot doesn't recognize them. It also ignores small clutter, so it's not entirely safe to run it while you're out. Its object recognition is average. It's about the same level as the Q8 Max or Q Revo, since they all use the same tech. It can't compare to the Grandmasters like the S7 Max 5, and the structured light camera didn't show any clear advantage in the dark. At night, it shoved the charger, dragged the faux pet mess, danced around on the scales, and pulled the power strip under the curtains. Still, navigation was surprisingly solid. Even without a sharp visual feed, it handled most obstacles correctly. It did sweep the curtains, which some users might not like. It followed the baseboards in a straight line, then switched into zigzag mode to cover the area. When it reached a black rug, it boosted suction, cleaned it completely, then returned to the laminate floor. It noticed the cardboard box and cleaned around it. As for table legs, mixed results. It bumped into 2 out of 3 and was gentle with the third. It doesn't detect the base of a drying rack if the camera's off, but it drives over it without issue. Even with the camera on, it still tries to climb over thin tubes. Though it does a better job avoiding furniture legs. It handles thresholds well. It clears 0.6 inches with ease. At 0.8 inches, it may get stuck briefly, but eventually powers through. That's why the app has a setting for hard to cross thresholds. The battery in the S7 Max Ultra is impressively efficient. On max suction, it ran for 103 minutes, and still had 20% left when it returned to the dock. In that time, it covered 1,173 square feet and picked up a good amount of debris. About 15% of that was pet hair, paper bits, crumbs, everyday mess. Noise levels were standard, around 55 decibels in quiet mode, up to 71 decibels at Max Plus. The Roborock Q Revo, with its 58 decibels at max suction, is still the outlier in terms of quietness. And yet, the Q Revo had stronger suction overall, even managing to pull out debris from 0.4-inch gaps in places. The S7 Max Ultra, in a slot depth test, cleared 0.08 inches thoroughly, 0.16 inches confidently, and even 0.24 inches. Anything deeper? It didn't reach the bottom. Same cleaning module, same suction power, but the result? Weaker pickup. Among the 7 Series vacuums, this is the lowest performance in this test, though most competing brands don't even hit this level. For instance, the Dream L10 Ultra, with similar specs, only managed to clean 0.09 inches. Still, the S7 Max Ultra delivers solid results. On laminate, it picked up most debris on the very first pass. Just look at how well the side brush cleans, right up to the edge. There were a few crumbs left in the center area and some dirt clinging to the corners, but overall it was very clean. Because of the round bumper design, there's always about 0.8 inches of untouched space near edges. The rubber roller doesn't really pull in sand, but suction takes care of it. Wherever the main brush passes, the floor is spotless. But near the edges, not perfect. Same goes for low-pile carpets. The hard 5-arm brush from the S7 Max V does a better job cleaning perimeters, especially with larger debris. Even in open areas, the S7 Max Ultra sometimes misses a few crumbs or larger particles. It gave the medium pile rug a solid brushing, pulled up nearly everything from the surface. Some debris got pushed around on the first pass, but was caught later when it crisscrossed in zigzags. On plush rugs, it performed like a champ. One of the best results we've seen from any Roborock 7 series model. After the run, the roller was nearly clean. Just a few strands of hair caught on the ends. Weekly maintenance should be enough. While dry vacuuming, the S7 Max Ultra also mops the floors. It pre-moistens the pad, it does mid-cycle and end-of-cycle rinses, and finally dries the pad with hot air to prevent mold. It removed coffee stains in 2 passes. Another 2 passes were needed to clean up around the edges. But without edge washing like on the Dream L10S Ultra, and without an extending mop arm like the Roborock S7 Max Ultra, don't expect miracles. It leaves about 2.7 inches dirty along the walls and up to 6 inches in corners. Same story with juice stains. In 4 full passes, it did a solid job in the center of the test area, but along the sides it left noticeable streaks, almost like the pad never touched them. The mud test went about the same. In 2 passes, it mostly just smeared the dirt around and clogged the microfiber with soil. After rinsing, it cleaned up most of the center, and even hit tight spots near the dock. But here and there, you'll still see brown smears, especially along the right edge. After a 3rd run, the center was shiny clean. Only the outer edges were still messy. Dried ketchup turned out to be a real challenge. Even with full water flow and vibration, it took 8 full passes. And even then, some residue remained. For everyday mopping, the S7 Max Ultra gets the job done. But in terms of raw effectiveness, it does fall slightly behind other bots in the series. After the coffee test, the mop pad was about 30% stained beige. The left side looked worse, but the right half had clearly worked too. We put the bot back down, it parked itself neatly on the dock and gave a status update. Starting mop cleaning. Then the mixer kicked in, a neighbor started drilling through the wall, and someone else began plunging their sink. We spent 4 minutes listening to that lovely background noise and waited for the results. Coffee stains didn't come off entirely, and like a beige film remained across the entire microfiber. After the juicy stain test, the outcome was similar but flipped. This time, the right edge was dirtier than the left. Interestingly, the zone directly under the vibrating module, which theoretically does the heavy lifting, stayed almost spotless. So the self-cleaning did a decent job improving the mop's condition. Overall, the pad looked fairly clean, but when rinsed manually in the sink, it released a lot more dirt than expected. After the mud test, it was completely clogged with soil, especially on the left side. We sent the bot back to the dock, listened to its signature cleaning sounds, and waited. The front left section stayed noticeably dirty, with visible grime just before the pad's trim. The rest? More or less acceptable. Though, let's be honest, hand washing still does a better job. The color of the drained water says it all. After the ketchup run, the mop pad turned orange. Not evenly, but most of it was stained. Once self-cleaned, the pad shifted to a light copper-orange hue. But dirt like that won't come off without detergent. For that, you'll need a thorough hand wash or a trip through the washing machine. In general, the self-cleaning system here works at a mid-level. For daily cleaning, the bot keeps the mop in usable condition. But once a week, you'll still want to do a full inspection. Clean the brushes, wash the pad, and tidy up the dock. After these extreme tests, the ramp looked absolutely disgusting. Thankfully, it can be detached and rinsed under the faucet, along with the roller and the drain tray. Wipe down the rest of the dock with a damp cloth. I also tested the drying function, and no complaints there. Here's what the mop looked like 2 hours after cleaning, completely dry. Next, we tested dustbin emptying. We placed the used debris container back into the robot and started the auto-empty process. In max mode, the dock runs for 30 seconds and hits around 80 decibels. Pretty standard volume. Once finished, the station releases the vacuum, making it easy to pull out the bin and check inside. Not a single hair left behind. Even the HEPA filter got partially cleaned. First impressions, very solid. But of course, we ran additional tests with different types of debris. We filled the bin with 3.5 ounces of sunflower seeds, maxed it out. and the dock still handled it all without issue. Sand takes up less space, and again, the result was excellent. Just a tiny pinch left at the bottom. Harder debris like rice and peas gave the S7 Max Ultra some trouble, just like other Roborock stations. About a third of the grain stayed inside the dustbin. Now for the ultimate challenge, cat litter. No miracles here either. Best result was 53% pickup, and that's after 2 tries. No, the Max Ultra didn't break any all-time records, but the performance is decent and more than enough for everyday use. We also tested it with pet hair, which is one of the most common messes. Despite using rear exhaust disposal, the system had no trouble. Everything got cleared out completely. Let's wrap this up. The Roborock S7 Max Ultra delivers the brand's signature build quality. It feels great in your hands, and even better when you watch it clean. Carpet mapping is precise. Tons of customizable settings for any situation. Object detection is still hit or miss, so don't leave it alone with your pets. Suction is slightly below other 7 Series models, but dry cleaning performance is top tier. It really digs into medium pile carpets. Mopping performance is average. Trash disposal and mop rinsing are fine for daily routines. The S7 Max Ultra is absolutely a worthy vacuum. Just whether or not to buy it depends on the current price. Thanks for liking this video, and that's it for today. See you next time.